Hey Danielle, hey James, hey everyone. Looks like we're all connected. So welcome to the session. We are here today with Bryan Jones and Allison Kim. Hello, hello. And
Hello.
we're diving into how to create easy custom illustrations for your e-learning projects and beyond. You can use them for non-e-learning things too. But Bryan Jones founded eLearningArt, which is like a super impressive illustration. I don't think just illustrations, but like mostly illustration library, it seems like, for instructional designers and e-learning devs, which we're going to get into. And then Allison Kim created a super impressive flagship project using Bryan's library and did some really cool things with the assets. So they're here today to kind of demo how this all comes together and help you create some custom, very custom illustrations for your project without having to actually like build them from scratch. So I will hand it over to you, Bryan, and welcome to the session, everyone. I'll be hanging out in the chat.
Thanks, Devlin, and thanks, Allison, and thank you all for attending today. So today we are going to do easy custom illustrations. Yes, you can, and you know you can do it because I can do it. I'm a non-graphic designer, and I'm going to do everything we're doing today in the tutorial in PowerPoint. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started here. So meet Allison. She's an instructional designer who's working on her flagship project for her online portfolio. Let's jump in to see some of the challenges she faced while sourcing graphics for her e-learning project. I've got an idea. I'll create a scenario-based course for parents and behavior analysts that models a special autism protocol for dangerous behaviors. No problem. I'll just snag a few photos from the authoring tools and freebie sites. Let's see. I need an autistic Asian adolescent boy who's engaging in self-injurious behavior, and a mother reenacting the child's behavior, and a child protective service employee doing a home inspection. Until nada. Nothing's quite right. Maybe these graphics don't exist. And then she reached out to eLearningArt with a crazy request. Do you happen to have an Asian adolescent boy who smashes his glasses on the ground, then hits himself on the head? They responded, showing her how she could actually ungroup, mix and match, and edit existing graphics to get exactly what she needed. So I'm Bryan Jones. I'm the founder of eLearningArt, and I created eLearningArt to have a never get stuck solution because e-learning images are different than other images out there. And today I'm going to show you a few ways that we can tweak images to get to what you actually want to create. So this is with Allison's flagship project that she shared with me for her portfolio. There were 5 different things that I thought were interesting, a lot more that were interesting, but 5 that I thought would be interesting for a tutorial in today's presentation. So we're going to do before-after builds where I show you hands-on how to do some of these things. So how do you get from the character like this to a character who's hitting a head? How do you get from a background that's like this to one that's more simplified for an e-learning course? How do you change expressions? How do you add bruises to a character? And how can you create simple animations? So let's go ahead and jump into these tutorials. So this is the before here, the image that we started with, and then here's the after image. And the ingredients that go into that, we have an eLearningArt character that we're going to use, we have an eLearningArt background, PowerPoint shapes, and then we're going to use an emoji element as well. So let me get into this slide build. And again, I'm going to be using PowerPoint to do this. So you can do this in any other graphic tool as well, but PowerPoint is actually pretty powerful to do these sorts of builds. So let's go ahead, and I want to show you the magic of SVG graphics. I'm going to go ahead and grab this character. I'm going to make it bigger. Real quick in chat, let me know, have any of you guys ever ungrouped images before in PowerPoint, or is this something that's new? All right, Michael says yes a few times. Well,
I think that was the first thing I learned in one of Devlin's tutorials or through boot camp. I can't remember, but the fact that you showed me that you could do all of this on PowerPoint was pretty awesome. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have access to PowerPoint, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, good. I see. Yeah, totally. And I see a few people saying this is new to them. Okay, here's the magic. So I'm going to click this, and if I right click, I go to group, and then I go to ungroup. It'll do it once, and I'm going to do it as a shortcut the second time. Shift Control G will ungroup it again, and that's where things start getting easy. Now, we've set all of these up where it's not a flat file. Every joint can be bent at. So this is where things get kind of neat. I'm just going to go ahead and select this part of it. Okay, great, sure. So I'm just going to drag over these elements. Actually, one other thing I like to do, I like to open the selection pane. So Is this where we do it here? I'm going to do it in my arrange. So
Yeah, it's right there.
Opening the selection pane. So you can kind of see what it breaks it to all the different elements that are here. I can Control G, which is how I normally do it, but I can also, yeah, we're gonna do that. Control G will regroup things. It just makes it a little easier to work with. Now, hey, look, we can actually rotate that whole arm and put it wherever we want. Same thing. I'm going to, so with these eLearningArt graphics, we actually have drawings that are underneath everything. So if I were to remove that, right, there's actually an arm that's with it too, which is neat. It gives you some more flexibility. But let's go ahead and group this one. The arm.
That was helpful as a guide for me too, Bryan, when I was manipulating the images so that I wasn't going out of proportion with anything, or I was looking at the joints just right. So yeah.
All right, so now we've got a layering thing, which you can control the layering here, or I can just right click this and let's go bring to front so that his arm is going to be in front of his head. And let's actually get this position more where we want it, like that. And then we can rotate this down here. Maybe give this a teeny rotation to match the joint up. And so now we've got him kind of punching himself. But the other, I think that Allison did a really nice job with is this is just a PowerPoint circle. I'm just going to duplicate this circle and I'm going to send it to the back. So let's go send to back and let's make it more of an oval around him. All right, so we're going to try to show anger. Well, that's a little intense, right? So two things we can do here. One is we can go to Format Shape. And for the fill, we can kind of make it transparent so that the background scene would show through. And it still just feels like a circle around there. So we can go to these effects, go to soft edges, and we can kind of play around. Let's just grab a preset. And that doesn't look quite soft enough. So maybe something more like that that's going to show anger. And now, if I duplicate this background and I just make it bigger within there, let's send it to the back. Right, I don't need to position the character properly there. But one other thing that I want to do here is this is just like a little emoji thing. And let's just grab that. He's clearly touching his face, but if I wanted to make it clear that he's hitting himself, just dropping a little graphic element in here like this kind of sells that he's hitting himself. What do you guys think about that? So Amanda's asking where the original graphic of the boy. That's the eLearning. It's part of the eLearningArt library, and I'll show you. I'm using all eLearningArt stuff right now. I'll show you a little bit more about that as we go. All right, I see. Love it. Awesome. Wow, super cool. Love this. Awesome. Yeah. So we just went from this before to this after where the boy is hitting himself, and I can't illustrate anything, but it's a modification that I'm able to make just in PowerPoint to get there. I can do that sort of thing. All right, so let's look at another common thing. So you have two different poses here, but really the pose that you wanted was a combination of the two. We wanted the eyes down, but we wanted the nervous mouth. I guess I can go back into presentation mode so it's a little bit bigger for you. And this is going to be the elements to this slide. We basically have two different eLearningArt characters in they're the same character in different emotions, a background, and then just a PowerPoint shape, or you could do that in storyline as well. So let's go here to the slide build. And we'll go ahead and start rocking this. So let me, this is the one that I was playing with before the tutorial here. And I'll show you how you can do some of that stuff. It's super fun. Again, non-illustrator here. So let's grab these two characters. I'm going to Control D to duplicate them. I'm going to make them bigger so they're easier to work with here. So I'm holding Shift and scanning them out. And we're trying to get to that pose. So really what I want is this is the main thing, but I'd like to grab that mouth. So I know they're the same size now. Control Shift G on a PC to ungroup. Now let me ungroup it again. Now I should be able to just click in here and grab that mouth. So I'm going to want her to be ungrouped too, so I can remove the old mouth. So I'll Control Shift G, and then I'll do it a second time to break everything else apart. I'm going to remove that mouth. I'm going to place this one there. And there we go. So we're already really close, and then we can do the same sort of hand manipulation. So if I wanted to move this hand, I'm going to swing the hands. We already kind of did the repositioning before, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time doing this, but it's the same concept. I can grab her arm and rotate it.
That was super helpful because I made probably 6 different poses in my flagship of her just doing different kind of talking with the hands. So it wasn't just the same image over and over.
Totally, just little tweaks help a lot. And actually that plays really nicely into here. The 2 things you can really make changes on that are simple, that completely change expressions, are eyebrows and the mouth. So we just modified that mouth, but I can take these eyebrows, and if I wanted to go from this kind of like sad, confused look here, but I wanted it to be more angry, I just rotate the eyebrows in a little bit, right? And this, like, just doesn't that look completely different? Just those 2 eyebrow changes?
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
And then same thing, you can just making a small tweak to like turning the mouth a little sideways. It feels like an entirely different thing. All right. Let's move on to what, did you guys like that tutorial? Swapping some mouths and just changing like, some eyebrows.
She looks like me when I'm angry. That's funny.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with these expressions, for sure. All right, let's. All right, I get a thumbs up. Awesome, love it. That's great. All right, so the characters, we call everything in our designer system. Things are set up to be able to be broken apart in an easy way. All right, let me pull this up. So this is another thing, like this before image where you have the bench and the chair and the table is great, but what if you want to put characters behind the bench or the table, or you want to focus on just the back? There's a lot of times with e-learning, you need to simplify things. You want to create room for text, you want to create room for characters, and we're going to go ahead and show how you can get there. Now, Allison did a very fancy remake of this background, and we'll do parts of it. It's pretty cool, though. Like, she textured wallpaper and some other neat stuff and, like, redid all of the couch colors and everything, and we'll do some of that. But the ingredients on here are, it's going to be a combination for her image of the two different backgrounds, living room 1 and living room 2, right? We need the rug to be pulled over here. She went with the hardwood floor. And then there's a bunch of different textures, like hardwood floor. It kind of creates that mixed feeling that you had, Allison, and throughout your flagship project, which was pretty impressive, the stuff that you did there. Let's go ahead and get into this build as well. So let me zoom back out. Let's go to the selection pane here. I'll zoom out so I can work with this a little bit better. And
that was a really great piece that helped me a ton, Bryan, was I could take your couch, but match it to my color scheme on my project. I could do any of the characters. What was so nice about the female character was she was actually kind of already in my color scheme already. But yeah, that was a question that popped up in the chat is, can you change the colors? And yeah, you can do it all.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So let me duplicate this one and let's do some of that stuff that you're talking about. Let's start. I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger, easier to work with. And then if I ungroup this, let me ungroup it one more time. Now we can work with it. You'll see like the chair is actually its own element, right? So we're gonna start cleaning up this background to create room for the characters. Or we could put the character behind it, but in this one, let's just go ahead and remove the chair. I think this one is maybe 3 pieces, this plus the 2 legs. And we've got these little elements too. So already we have a much cleaner background to work with here. And again, we're trying to simplify the scene in this one. If I decide, I want the plant over here, great, no problem. Just move the plant over to the side. Allison, Jessica's asking if you did this if you did yours the editing completely in PowerPoint here.
Working with the graphics, yeah. Manipulating the colors and things like that. I just had like my color scheme that I wanted, and in different slides started messing with different kind of wallpapers that was on e-learning, and did I like that before I transplanted it over into Storyline. So yeah, I actually did quite a bit in there, and then I did some stuff on my own using Adobe Illustrator as well too.
Yeah, and I break out into a sweat if I use Illustrator. So I do everything in PowerPoint, but you can do it in pretty much any graphics program. And there's some more powerful things that you can do in Illustrator. I find that PowerPoint is the right balance for me in doing edits. And then you would have this as like your working file, and then you could import the finished assets either as PNGs or SVGs to your program once you have them done. All right, let's grab this. So I just duplicated this image here. We need to grab this rug. That's a big part of Allison's room here. So I'm going to Control-Shift-G again to ungroup. Control-Shift-G, and the only thing we need is a rug. We're going to drop it there. If I wanted to do it simple without dropping that wood texture that was in there, I could just give the hint of wood. So if I right-click this and I go to fill, I can use the color picker, or I can pick any color I want. But I'm just going to use the eyedropper, and I'm just going to grab a color of wood there. And same thing, if I didn't want to do the whole layering of textures on top of it to create the wallpaper feel, I could right-click this, and I can go to eyedropper and just grab that yellow that's there. And same thing, like this pillow, what do you have like a red pillow there? I'm going to click onto the individual red. I could change it manually just going to the fill and picking any color. So I could go to more fill colors, and I could just grab any color I wanted, right? I can change it to this blue, or I can be right-clicking it, fill, and using the eyedropper
to
grab
so much fun because I'm terrible at graphics, and this just made, like, I felt like such a fancy interior designer. I'm like, ooh, look what I can change.
Christopher is asking, well, so Melissa just asked, are we able to access eLearning images for free? I have a freebie that's 100 images that you can play with, and then on an ongoing basis, I'll send some more as well. I just sent that in the link, but basically, if you go to elearningart.com/Devlin, that will take you to the free sets that you can get there and play with. And another question here is, great, can you do this with other pictures that are not created with eLearningArt assets? Yes, so SVGs are ungroupable. Different sources will set up their files differently, right? So our characters have a sleeve on top of the arm. Sometimes you'll ungroup something and find that there is no arm that's underneath it, right? Which is a challenge. Or you remove, like a common thing would be you remove somebody's hair to change something. They don't have head underneath it because they haven't set it up with the intent of somebody ungrouping it and doing stuff. So we've set them up in a way that's made to modify it, and it's just a different approach. But there are other assets ranging from not useful to somewhat useful that are out there as well. We specifically focus on e-learning builds. All right, so I think that's good with the room. There's some other fancy stuff that we could do, like we can layer on textures on top of it that would create the wallpaper feel. But let's just leave this room and call it done. Allison did some really cool stuff in this as well.
Did you have the wood in there, Bryan?
Oh, I can grab the wood. Yeah, so I can show. So we have a wood that's already put at the perspective of a room. So for example, let's drop that wood there. We can make that, here, and then I could layer that appropriately. So I could bring the rug forward. So let's bring this to the front. And then, I would play with the perspective and now the couch needs to be at the front too. So let's just do that. And then, right, this is going to feel a little bit wonky, but I'll group these together. I'll make it really big so that I'm trying to fill the screen so you can see what that finished image might look like. And then if you look over here now, oops, let's even make it bigger. Now you have something that's close. Ooh, let's move it a little there. Now you'd have something closer to the room that Allison built, right? And then I would just do another texture there. So it's set up for those perspectives that are right for the rooms. Now there's some questions about SVG images. Yeah, SVG. So in PowerPoint, there used to be something called EMF, but now SVG is the standard for images. When you're looking for images, look for SVGs. That's the superpowers that are where you can do all these sorts of edits. Okay, sometimes you want to add something to a character, like a wound. How do you do something like that? Well, let me go back to the presenter mode so we have a bigger screen here. So grabbing just a standard image and then layering on some semi-transparent wounds is something that's a useful little trick that you can do, and Allison did a great job with it in hers. And so here, really, all we're doing, we're just taking a standard character. It could be from anywhere, These two are eLearningArt characters, and then it's a PowerPoint shape. And there's several different approaches you can use to it. You could do several PowerPoint shapes that you layer on top of each other. You can do a single shape. Let's start with the Mark character. I'm going to duplicate Mark. Let me get this a little bigger. That's a little better. I'm going to make him bigger so it's a little easier to work with. And I want the bruise on the face there. So I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and let's go ahead and start creating this bruise. That's fine. I'll angle it here. The way I would approach this would probably be a single graphic where I do a gradient fill, but you could layer 3 on top of each other. Let me go right click, Format Shape. And we're going to go to a gradient fill. It's going to do some crazy stuff here, right? This isn't what I want. Basically, to me, it looks like there's 3 colors in this bruise. Let me duplicate this and let's make it bigger so we can work with this a little bit. So I see some purple, I see some red, and I see some orange in there. So let's just try that. These are different stops for the gradient. I'm going to go ahead and, remove that stop. We're just going to do 3 stops. And again, I can cheat a little bit here because I can see the colors that Allison used, but I could also, so I could, you know what, I won't cheat. The cheat would be I just grab it from the eyedropper. I'm going to say, all right, we're going to grab like a purple here. We're going to grab.
I used a green too, I think. Yeah, green? I had some really great feedback on
the greens would
how
be
to
kind
make
of on the outside.
A legit bruise. What's that?
The greens would be kind of on the outside.
I kind of blended them all in with transparency. Okay. They originally kind of looked like a hickey until I got some really good feedback from some of Devlin's mentors on coloration.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to do the cheaper version of this here. But yeah, you can. I mean, you could spend a lot of time on nailing the bruise just right. Mm-hmm. I'll try to do this is Bryan's best hack attempt at it. So I think what we want to do is it's going to be a radial, not linear, right? That doesn't look right. So if we go to radial, and we want the direction to be from the center, and really it looks like the purple is going to be on the inside and the yellow kind of on the outside. But again, like if things aren't quite right here, we need to have transparencies. And so I'm going to shoot for, let's say 40% transparency on each of the colors. All right, so we're getting closer, but still, this is going to look weird on the character because it's what we need is the soft edges here. And let's see if I can do soft edges. Let's try preset. Again, I'll just kind of tweak these. Maybe I want a little bit more of the soft edge, and then we're going to.
I think that's what I did was different colored ovals with different transparencies with super soft edges, and I mixed and kind of overlapped so it wouldn't be so symmetrical to kind of get that.
Yeah, and that is nice because you could kind of spread each oval a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit, imperfect here, but not bad, right? So we drop that on there, and then I'm just going to duplicate that one. I'm going to swing this for the eyebrow, and we're going to make it a little smaller this way and that way, and we'll drop that. And then you can tweak, like, all right, that's not really that noticeable. Let's go ahead and make it a little bigger and still a little bigger. And then you can do, it's hard to see because it's over black, so I might maybe push that down a little bit, like there. Okay, and let's take a zoomed in view on that. All right, what do you guys think? Close enough for this? You could, so I would probably tweak this more in a real build where I would play with different transparency levels. I would play with the different colors. I might try Allison's approach of the overlay. If that's not quite making sense on the overlay front. So basically Allison was saying, hey, if you took this thing, but then you duplicated it and you rotated, you might be able to get some imperfection on symmetry, which is what you want. You want things in life, like a bruise, are not perfectly symmetrical. So you could layer a couple of these things on top of each other. Oops. rotate, rotate a few more things like that. And then each one might have its own color, its own soft edge, whatever, and blend them together. All right, I see an amazing in there and I see an awesome. Thanks. Okay, Allison, here is your, let's get this into presentation, but we're gonna move on to the next one here. So this, Allison wanted to point out that one of the things, or you can talk about the image sizing and being able to animate. Here, let me play the animation and then we'll do it. So this is a quick little animation that you did as a screencast of something that's in the course. And so you'll see that the expression has changed, and this is not using a fancy animation tool like Vyond. What did you actually do these animations in?
So I first just want to point out that Bryan's like, oh, just use the graphics, or someone did. Don't use animations, but I had so much fun playing with this, and it was so easy because of the consistency of the graphics. I basically just overlaid them at the same size, in very easy to line up the position and kind of overlay it with the next image, like the facial expression change, and then just use the timeline. That's all I did to achieve all this. And this set that you're seeing right now were in different layers.
Cool. All right, let's do an actual build of a simple animation here with the same character. I'm not going to do the full sequence because it takes a little longer, but I'm going to do it in PowerPoint right now. You could actually build this scene and import it as a video into any authoring tool. You could pre-build that animation. I just want you to feel like you don't need a fancy animation tool to do it. And Storyline is actually easier. Its timeline is easier to work with than PowerPoint. PowerPoint's timeline can be a little bit wonky and crazy making, but it can be done. So I just want to show you that you can. All right, let's go ahead and grab these two characters. Let me zoom back out. Oops, well, let's go to the build slide. All right, here we are. So we have Dara. Let's go back to the selection pane. Naming things in the selection pane, I want to point that out for animations and actually for slide builds is super helpful. So having this character, let me remove these other ones this is my working area earlier that I dragged off. So I could say Dara sad 1. But I could change that to say, I could put whatever I want in there. But knowing what these things are on the animation, when you're doing animations, when you do it on the selection pane is super helpful. And you'll see why in just 1 second here. Let's grab these. Oops, I don't want to duplicate so I don't mess that up. We're going to put them side by side. And I'm going to control click and then get them both to be the exact same size. Now, this is where part of what Allison was saying, like when they are lined up, right, the boxes are exactly the same. So you could arrange them. You could say align center, and then you could arrange align middle, and they're perfectly set up because they're both on the same frame. All right, so let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to go from sad to nervous. So let's go ahead and go to animations, and I'm going to open the animation pane. And now this animation, sad is the pose that's going to be there when we start. So the first thing we need to do is not have this image appearing. And the way we're going to do that, we add an animation that's going to be a disappear. And that disappear is actually going to be with previous, basically saying, hey, when the slide starts, I'll show you. If I go into slide view, that image isn't there because we've told it to disappear when the slide loads. So now we actually are going to want this to appear. So I'm going to go add animation. I really like using the fade effect, but you could do just a straight up appear. So we want her to appear, but at the same time, we need to remove the old image so you don't have two images on top of each other. So the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to add animation and we're going to do disappear, but I'm going to do as a fade. And so I'll preview, and actually these need to happen at the same time. So this disappear should happen at the same time as the other appear. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to say start with previous. So just so you can see side by side, let me just show you this. So the other image is gone. When I click, one fades and the other disappears. Now we need to layer them on top of each other. Let's go ahead and actually make them a little bit bigger. so that you can get more of the feeling of the emotional fade in and out. So let's do this. You can go. I mean, that's the cool thing.
Jessica had a good question. Oh, sorry. Jessica had a good question about, so you still have to program in PowerPoint, but took it to Storyline to finish. I think he's just demoing for purposes, Jessica, but what I did is I figured out layouts, colors, manipulated expressions on PowerPoint, but then I animated everything in Storyline and used the Storyline timeline rather than on PowerPoint. He's just doing this for demo purposes.
Yep, I would recommend if you are doing your program in Storyline to finish your graphics in PowerPoint, do all the animations in Storyline. But in
Definitely.
theory, with any authoring tool, you could do your animations here in PowerPoint, save that part out just as its own little movie, and drop it in. All right, one cool thing, or one of many cool things with the SVGs, they're vector. You can make them as big as you want. So if you're trying to really sell that expression change, we could go even bigger than this. Let's go to 25. What does that look like? All right, that's getting crazy, right? Let's make sure they're aligned. So I'm going to go to Arrange, Align, Middle. And then we're going to go to Arrange, Align, Center. All right, now let's preview what that expression change is going to look like. Here we are when the click happened. Right? It feels like animation. That fade kind of gives it that feel. Even though the eyeballs didn't actually roll up, you're still getting the fade still sells it. And there's a bunch of different ways you can animate things. You can do motion paths. You can do different. You can do bounces. It's actually PowerPoint's pretty fancy, and Storyline has a lot of those same animations as well. All right, what do you guys think about animations? Feel doable? I see a thumbs up. I see a very cool. You guys can be animators too without an animation tool. All right, so a couple.
It gets very addicting, though. It's very addicting.
That's what I was talking to Allison about the project too. It's like you can start going down a deep dark rabbit hole trying to do a zillion animations. So kind of pick and choose what you're doing. It's easy to sink some time into it. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a couple other things in Allison's project that I want to share with you guys. So she kind of mixed a few different of the tutorials here to go from this surprised look to really, so the full view, the kid is kind of coming after her. And so Allison added a lean, repositioned the hands, and then looking at him too, right? So it looks like did you ungroup and move the eyes?
I didn't move the eyes, I just mirrored her,
okay,
which was great because a lot of other graphics that I found, again, there's nothing with character this consistent with that many emotions or poses, but I found it so handy to be able just to mirror depending on where I wanted the focus to be on. So
that's a really good point. And it's funny because every once in a while I'll get somebody who reaches out to support and says, why are all your characters only facing left? What if I need a character facing right? And you'll feel, I mean, it feels silly once you see it done, but what Allison's talking about here is we can take this one, I'll just duplicate it, and then go home, arrange, and this is where you would find the selection pane. Let's say the selection pane was closed. I can, come on. Close. All right. So if you were to go here, home, arrange, we could open that selection pane if we want to. And then if I want to flip it, I'm going to go to align, and then I can rotate, flip horizontal. Ta-da! Now you've got the character facing that way. Yeah. Then you do the tutorials on the stuff that we were talking about before, where you could ungroup it, you can kind of lean, you can rotate to lean the body back, you can put the hands forward and really get the pose exactly the way that you want. Another neat thing that was in Allison's project was actually reviewing the file and having some office objects. Now these are, I believe, PNGs with transparent backgrounds, not vector images. So I kind of pulled it out for this presentation, but I thought this was a nice slide that she was able to create with a few different office objects that have the background cut out. All right, so other common, let's go ahead and do this. Here, I'm gonna show you a few of the additional common edits requests that I see people wanting to do with illustrations. So you have a character that's in PPE, but he needs to not have a hard hat, but he needs to have safety glasses, but no ear things, and he wouldn't wear a vest. Same, you can use the same techniques on this. You would ungroup it. You could pull out all the elements that you didn't want. You could grab the hard hat and throw it on another character, yada, yada. Recoloring scrubs or recoloring uniforms that are specific to your organization, that's an easy change to do. It's just a few clicks away when you're able to ungroup. A lot of times people want to create a second outfit. I'm doing a multi-day scenario or a multi-day story where the character would be changing outfits. And Allison, you had this in yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you actually added some textures and some other cool stuff to really make it feel completely different. But you could grab a skirt from another character and put the skirt on, or you could just change the colors of the pants. So you can mix and match, or you can actually edit as well. People want to move from a standing to a sitting pose, again, because you can bend at the joints. That's an easy thing to do. We have many illustrations where they're already sitting, but when you're trying to get into a specific sitting pose, or if the character isn't already sitting, that's something that you can do. And then modifying uniforms. One of the things that I've seen people do or want to do is like you have a firefighter, they're in a uniform, or they're in turnouts, but then they have their daily uniform where that would actually not be colored, or you want to recolor it and make this collar not a V-neck and not have but have, whether that be crew, is that what it's called, the crew neck, or making characters more conservative. Same thing, like don't want to show as much skin here, and you want to move and this could be a subject matter expert is like, this is what you need, or a stakeholder says you need to do that. You can make the dress longer in like 4 or 5 clicks. These are all things that I can demo for you guys in the FAQ section. These are live builds that we can do if that's what you guys want to take a look at, and we'll do those questions in 5 minutes. But I want to just share how I think about illustrations in e-learning, and the right graphics support e-learning builds, and that's kind of how we approach things at eLearningArt. And I want to share what my thinking is around that. This is just going to take like 1 minute, and then we'll get into the FAQs. But for different types of projects and different stakeholders that you have, we approach it with 3 different styles. We have kind of the cartoony look, a more realistic one where often with safety training, that's people are like, oh no, this needs to be serious, so have that. Or someone's really into modern looks, so you can do that fluid style that looks more like how people build websites or current design as well. And in addition to having multiple styles, you need lots of characters, and they need to be diverse in every way possible. So you'll see here, I'll let the animation roll here. But we have transgender characters, we've got adults, we have babies, infants, toddlers, elementary age. Here we have Muslim characters as well. But basically, you're trying to create worlds, right? And with worlds, you need people of every type of diversity, and it's important to have access to lots of characters. At eLearningArt, we have tons of photo characters too. I think 75,000 photo character cutouts as well. But I'm just kind of showing you guys the illustrated part of the library. In addition to lots of characters, again, I can't create an illustration from scratch, but I can modify using the techniques that we talked about here. So having a bunch of different poses to start with lets you mix and match and modify to get there. So we put together like the 75 most common poses, both forward facing and side facing, so you can kind of start and get 90% of where you need to do. But for the 10% of the tweakiness that you need to just get your project right, that you have the ability to do that. And then for me, the most important thing is that you have SVG files that are ungroupable, and ungroupable in a useful way. That means bendable at the joints, being able to have the skin that's underneath the clothes and all that sort of stuff, so you can get things right. And it lets you do, this is a crazy change, right, to some pink hair, but you can change anything you want, right? And here we have a striped skirt and basically a full second outfit, and looks like she's wearing like a wig or something. So that's how I think about it. But again, if you guys want to get some free downloads of eLearningArt assets to get yourself started, go to eLearningArt.com/Devlin. And then you can also email me anytime as well. So brian.jones@elearningart.com. And for those of you who are doing this just off of the live thing, we have some special offers that we can give to you. Or if you just want a one-on-one demo with someone from my team or me to see if we have what works for you, I'm happy to get on the phone and see if it's a fit. And that's how Allison and I came together. What seemed like an impossible request was actually doable. So, hey, Jennifer, thanks. You just teed me up. She says, this looks amazing. When do we get to the Q&A? Let's do that. All right. So her question specifically, oh, you're welcome, Devlin. Jennifer's question specifically is, can we talk about the photo people and what you can and can't do with those? Well, you can do a lot with photo characters. And so, for example, like, hold on, let me close out of this. Let me pull this up. And if someone can keep a running track of the questions so that I don't lose them in chat, I'll try to address as many as we can. So like in the eLearningArt library, let me just go to the characters page. Let's just jump into the business casual category really quickly.
Amanda had a question about licensing or acceptable use requirements for these or other SVG assets in the training.
Sure. I mean, the quick answer is eLearningArt was set up for building images in training. And so we've set up the license to be something that works very well for people who are building training. And if you have specific licensing questions, I'm happy to get into that. All right, let's take a look real quick at photo characters. We're talking mostly about illustrated, but you'll see, let me just do a quick scroll through. This is just the business casual set, right? So we approach it the same way, which is diversity. We approach it the same way, which is they should have individual poses with the backgrounds removed so you can kind of composite scenes. And you'll see there's a ton, right? I started eLearningArt with photo characters. So in 2009, I was an e-learning developer struggling to build scenarios. And I did a photo shoot in Los Angeles where I did photo shoots for my own need for building scenarios, and then opened it up and started having other people request more characters. How about not business? How about medical? How about industrial? And it's kind of grown from there. And then you'll see, all right, here are the styles. So we'll get into, these are the illustrated styles of the photo, or the realistic, and then in the cartoons, it's pretty deep. And then also like there's the transgender characters, and then here we have the other fluid style. But let's just look at Mimi really quickly. Same thing. So we're gonna have lots of forward-facing poses, lots of side-facing poses, and you can we'll have the backgrounds removed, and so you can mix and match in composite scenes. What's different between photo characters and vector SVGs is a photo character it's raster. It's the pixels are what they are. We took a photograph of Mimi wearing this shirt. You can't just remove the sleeves of her shirt or bend her arm directly in there. There's some things in Photoshop you can do to manipulate it, but it's not going to be at the same level where it feels realistic when you use them. I love photo characters for they're great. I tend to go towards illustrated characters when I have very specific outfit requirements. All right, I'll just grab one of Mimi so you can see. So I'm going to grab can be very big, right? So 6,000 pixels tall is bigger than we need. We're going to go with large. We're going to go to 2,500 pixels. And this is true for both PowerPoint and Storyline. You can download something within Chrome and you can just drag and drop it right onto the screen. So here we go. We've got Mimi. And you can build scenes, and you could then have another character that was talking to her as well. So it's the same concept of compositing images, but you'll have less flexibility in changing things. But like for special things, like we have hard hats that have been shot in like actually photographed that you could then drop a hard hat on her. So we call them our people add-ons. So there's certain things that you can manipulate, but there's limitations to what you can change. All right.
I also like, Bryan, something unique about yours is with e-learning, you have that back of the head headshot. And some people may not understand why the heck would I ever use that. But you and I have gotten into deep discussions about the rabbit holes we go down, like, oh, we just want it to look so good. And just changing the different perspective, like that is genius. I love that about the graphics that you guys have. I don't know if
thanks.
you want to explain it?
Well, yeah. So it's funny because the very first photo shoot, I was getting some feedback from other e-learning developers, and David Anderson, who's now at Articulate, this is before he was at Articulate, was like, "Hey, make sure you do the over-the-shoulder shot." And my thought was, that is so stupid. Like, why would anybody ever want that? And I did it, and it's one of the most useful things because you can do that first person's perspective over the shoulder. Same thing if we have somebody over the back of their head. Well, let's grab one really quickly. We'll grab Dean here.
That's just something unique that I haven't seen, but I really enjoy, and I've used in presentations for my company.
I think it'll probably be around page 3. And so some context, I actually manage all the photo shoots myself. When we started doing them, it was 75 poses in a set. And now you'll see these ones have, what does he have, 261. So more poses, more angles, everything just continues to grow as there's. All right, so now you're right. So you're talking about you can do first person perspective over the shoulder here. So those are interesting.
Yep.
These are interesting as well. So if I were to grab this Dean one, we'll do the same size. We'll do a 2500 pixel, and I'll do a download. Okay, and let's pull the presentation back up. All right, and let's grab Dean. Okay, so again, I'm doing it over the questions slide, which is kind of a funny approach here. But I'll go here. I'm going to flip Dean over here, and we'll rotate, flip horizontal. We're going to make him roughly the same size as Mimi. A little too big there.
So snappy.
But you do, and it's, again, I got to get the sizing right. But now we go to something like that, and you're trying to build a conversation. You have that 360-degree rotation with the conversation where you can be flipping one way to the other way with a cinematic feel, really doing kind of stop motion, but have full control over what the poses would be and what the content would be, and not have to. When you shoot video, you'd have to reshoot the video. Here, you can just swap out an image to a different pose. All right, what was the next? I want to make sure I didn't miss. I see some.
Melissa had a question.
All right, let me try to scroll up to that.
I can read it for you if that's easier,
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, Melissa said, "Please forgive me, I'm new here. The downloadable file you shared are PNG. They're real photos beneficial. You are suggesting we source graphics pictures that are SVG because of how much more customizable they are?"
What I'd say is that they're both useful. So I love using photo characters, and it's a taste thing. On one hand, and on the other hand, it's what sort of flexibility you need. So if you're building something with clear business characters, like that's the outfit, they're going to wear business casual. We have a deep library. There are other libraries, like you can find those images. When you get to things that need to be, you have very specific poses, you have very specific outfits. That's when I would start going more towards Illustrated, or if you just like Illustrated, you can go with Illustrated. So the download that you did right now, it has lots. That initial pack has lots of photo characters in it. But I will add and email everyone who signed up now and signed up later. I'll add that to the flow where you get some more illustrated characters so that you can play around those as well. So I'll follow up with that for you guys here who are here live. I'll follow up within the next couple of days with that via email. I'll send you some additional ones, and anyone who signs up for it on the replay here, it'll already be set up with the illustrated images, so you can play around with them as well and see what's possible. And also, if you guys ever have any questions, just email the support team, support@elearningart.com, or you can use my email as well, although I'm a little slower to respond. If it goes to the support, it'll get routed. We can show you what can and can't be done. If you have questions about anything, we're happy to help out, regardless of whether or not you're a customer.
That's what I did, and I was really just blown away. I'm like, there's no way. Can this thing really do all of that stuff? And they made me a video of how they did it. So I was just like, I'm sold.
Awesome.
Here's
Thanks.
my credit card.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
Mitchell.
yeah, the silver lining is like when COVID hit, we shut down the studio and the library was almost exclusively these photo characters, and we had some illustrated characters, but they weren't done right. And so when the studio shut down, I focused my energy and my team's energy on how do we build illustrations for e-learning that are done in the right way. And this designer system is what we came up with, and that's really doing the drawings with the right groupings and layerings in a way that you could actually customize things as well. And we added
Bryan,
the library.
can I throw something in there?
Yeah.
I want to throw something in there too, just because I don't have a graphic background or anything like that. I've tinkled in Adobe Illustrator, made myself sweat because I want to learn it. But one of the things that I also loved about Bryan's illustrations that's different is that, I'm not going to explain it well, Bryan.
That's fine.
Take the reins, but just that they're all put in perspective, so it's dummy proof. I can't choose something that's gonna look bad. I think about the cubby example when we were kind of looking at that, Bryan, together. The perspectives are designed in e-learning so that you just click it together. I mean, I think of e-learning as like a Lego system, like it's dummy proof. So, someone like me can't go and mess it up in an e-learning project.
It's interesting, like the way I think about how I approach the build of the library is design systems, right? Things that play well together. So a system of characters that have the angles that match with each other, a system of desks that will match those characters. When we're talking about illustrations, it's how do we be consistent across illustrations so that the horizon is at the same line across all of them, so that perspective is right as you mix and match elements. How do you shoot all of the characters consistently at the same level so that when you don't end up with some like bird's eye character and then some flat character where they clearly don't go together. So everything that I approach from the build standpoint is how do you create systems that make it both look good when you put them together as well as save time when you're doing it. So it's funny because 13 years ago, I didn't know what a design system was, and I didn't actually hear about design systems until the last year or two. But it's like that's what I've been doing. It's design systems. It's really thinking through how everything comes together to save time and make things look good.
Yeah, Michael just says like IKEA. That's so true. Like IKEA.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I see mention of Lego as a wonderful comparison, like IKEA. Love the systems approach. So hopefully we're getting a range of options. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems with graphics in e-learning is most haven't been built for e-learning. So stock photo sites are meant to have the one perfect marketing photo. Lots of stuff built for marketing, lots of stuff built for other things. Even the inbuilt images, usually they just pull from the free sites. They're actually not built with the intention of the person who is building e-learning. And we have unique needs with what outfits and poses are to build the stories and create the scenes that we need to build training. So I feel like we're set up for failure a lot of the time to, hey, go create this great thing, but here are all the wrong tools for you to do it. And I look at that as my job, is trying to figure out how do I build the right tools to help you guys out and solve the problem. I started this as solving my own problem, but now I do less building, and now it's solving the problems that other people have.
Definitely solved my problem for my flagship. I didn't even think I could pursue the content I wanted to build for my flagship because I didn't think I had the right graphics. And I think, actually, Bryan, I was thinking about the other day, I think how I found you was I was looking for a podcast, and I think I was looking up e-learning podcasts. And because your name of your company, it just popped up, and I'm like, what's this? And then, I stumbled across your graphics, and oh my gosh, I think this could be myself. So that's actually how I found you guys.
Great. Well, I'm glad.
But yeah,
I'm glad that the name matched with what your search was. I think that's the problem. Is most of us we're dealt what the tools have and thinking that's the only thing out there. So I'm glad you found us. I'm glad we were able to. I actually love getting these things that seem like impossible requests to see. How can I chase this rabbit hole down, or how can my team chase this rabbit hole down to solve that problem? So that initial example, you ended up not doing the stomping of the glasses, but we actually did that build where we took the glasses off of one of the industrial characters. We made them look more like real character. And then we created a smashed version of them using edit points and some other stuff and bent it to make him look angry and like he was stomping on it.
I mean, I was able to, just some other tidbits that we didn't have in the slides, but I was able to really zoom in on parts of my storyline project where the client with autism would throw the furniture and the iPad went flying. And for that, I wanted to show the table and everything being broken, including the flower vase that was in that same living room I think we used. And I was able to zoom in and show a close-up of the furniture and everything coming to the ground crashing, and nothing was fuzzy or pixelated. It was all just super clean and clear. So I just, that ability to do that was pretty awesome.
I love hearing that.
SVT stuff.
Danielle just jumped in and said, this was really incredible. It's so nice to have, as a freelancer, to be able to do some of this work myself rather than having to hire a graphic designer, which sometimes isn't in the budget. That is absolutely true. It's like, how do you, as the non-graphic designer, be able to do this sort of stuff? That's exactly what it's built for. We have a saying, it needs to be simple enough for Bryan to be able to use, and if I can do it, then anybody can do it. So so that's how we approach that. So we have a couple of minutes. If anyone wants me, if there's a specific thing, changing PPE, recoloring scrubs, creating a second outfit, standing to sitting, modifying uniforms, conservative outfits. Actually, let me show the conservative outfit one, not necessarily because that's 100% the most, but because we didn't get into edit points, which is another superpower here of SVGs. Oh gosh, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. All right, let me just clear this out of here. And then I'm happy to do this for any other image you want to. All right, so this, with the firefighter, when I was talking about the daily going to the crew uniform, let me just show you really quickly how I'll do it with her here. All right, so we've ungrouped everything. If I click into her shirt here, here's another superpower here. You go to shape format. For those of you who stuck around, this is like the best. All right, so edit shape, edit points. You can see this is actually just shape with edit points, just like you were in Illustrator or any other graphics program. So we want to make this the collar a little tighter here. Well, instead of it being a V, if I right click this here, what's up?
Oh, I'm just waiting in anticipation. I didn't know this for my project. It would have taken me so much longer, but
so we're going to change this from a corner point to a straight to a smooth point. That's going to make it rounded, but you'll see because of these little guys are off. If I just rotate this, and so I can make it, wider or narrower. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to drag it up.
Oh my God!
And then I'm going to do a little tighter there, and ta-da! Same thing. If we wanted to do a longer dress, oh yeah, thanks for sticking around. I see, that's amazing. Wow, very cool. Okay.
I didn't know you could do this on PowerPoint,
I know.
Like, you just.
All right.
That's great.
Let's do one more thing just to show you how easy this is. We're going to take her dress. We're going to go to shape format. We're going to go to edit shape. We're going to edit points. Same thing. All I need to do, these are actually, it's a nice curvature. All I need to do is drag this down to her ankles and drag it down to her ankles. And she's almost in formal wear now, but it's that easy.
You can keep one side halfway up, Bryan. That's trendy.
Okay, so we'll do like that.
Yeah.
And I could, and then I can change whatever, right? Like it can be swooping out, or it can be, coming in a little bit. Like, oh, look at that. And same deal. If you said, well, gosh, that's like she would never wear that color. We're gonna put her in a second outfit, and it's gonna be the bright red dress. We do that, and the dress is there's gonna be two parts of a dress. We the way that things can bend, so you're gonna need three parts. Let's say there's the belly portion, like the waist portion, and then the there we go. So there she is in her bright red dress.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
I can't believe that. That's
all right.
Ridiculous.
So that's.
I thought I was so cool by making earrings different. You just blew my mind away with that.
I'm glad we got to that one, because I think the edit points. It's an important point.
Yeah.
Get it? To be able to do that, because you have full flexibility. Again, I can't start from a blank screen and create all the right points and become a beautiful illustration, but I can take an existing one and modify a few points. Edit points are also helpful when you're trying to deal with putting something into somebody's hands. Like you have a full hand and you have the object, but you want to just show like the knuckles up to that point. you can just drag those edit points and get the hand tweaking just right.
I know it's 2 o'clock. Devlin, we did get a request to show standing to sitting. I don't know if we have time to do that.
I can show you so I have all these pre-built as I was playing around with it. I just ungrouped it. I moved the legs to the side, rotated the legs up, and then put it in there. I would probably do a little more tweaking with the feet and that sort of thing. All right, Devlin has to go. There was one more question about pre-made backgrounds. Yes, we have the same designer system for backgrounds as well. All sorts of different scenes, business and
lots on the website so
everything.
that you can see a lot of that. Yeah.
All right, looks like we got a rock and roll. But if you sign up for even if you don't need the images, if you sign up for those images, you'll get some dripped content to you where there are more tutorials on how to do this stuff. And you can always reach out to me for a demo or with any questions that we can follow up. But let me, one more time just so you see that. It's going to be the eLearningArt.com.
Oh yeah, I think, Devlin, I do have the ability to click. If you want, I can end it if people want to hang out.
Oh, you have the ability? Okay, I can hang around for,
I think so,
for one more minute or a couple more minutes if any. Is there anything else that anyone's dying to see? We can do any of these. I can talk about them conceptually.
Backgrounds are.
Yeah, if we want to. So all the backgrounds that we were building with are part of the eLearningArt library. So when we were doing these build scenes before, like this interior is what we used for a lot of Allison's project, but you used an outside a home for yours as well. Yep. And there's a bunch of other scenes. So generally we're looking at our core categories, but we'll create anything that meets the need. We're building worlds. So so we think of things as like, okay, business, interiors, exteriors, homes, interiors, exteriors, hospitals, interior, exteriors, industrial, interiors and exteriors. So those are, and then schools. So those are the main ones that we do, but we add other scenes as well as we're building our worlds. Yeah, there's a YouTube, the eLearningArt has a YouTube channel, but I haven't uploaded anything in a while to it. But the best, the way you get the most current stuff is through, is signing up for the email list. And I deliver tutorials through that. So when you sign up, you'll get weekly emails on Thursdays. All right.
Does anyone have any other questions about? It's just been so great working with Bryan and eLearningArt and the things that I was able to do for my project. I just wouldn't have been able to do it, my flagship project, without this. So, oh yeah, your backgrounds. I mean, I spent so long just digging into all the really fun stuff in there. I mean, it's like kid in a candy shop. There's just so many fun things to play with and pull from and create a scene. It's great.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, it's fun showing some of the stuff that you were able to do with the library, and I love seeing people take the original assets and be able to create new things from it. It's so neat. Here's a quick. So these are all built on the same designer system, right? So you'll see a range. All these can be ungrouped and things can be moved around, and we are constantly adding new backgrounds to it as we build worlds, and that's how eLearningArt started. Was based on member feedback, as people were saying, this is an image that I really like to see. We recently got in the last week had a conversation with someone who needed to have pets. So we're going to do a couple pet kits with some dogs and cats and that sort of thing and mix those in. So just in the business of building worlds and trying to help make people's lives easier.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, there's one membership question. Do you pay per download? No, eLearningArt's a membership site. So you join, you have access to everything. There's no restriction on the number of downloads that you're doing. And so that really fits well with when you're trying to build a project. Like, okay, I need to go download a whole bunch of stuff and build the world. So that's how we approach it, is membership based, and then we're around to be able to support things in the builds too. You can reach out and we can help you. And so it's not really, I look at it not as a stock photo site, but as a membership site where you have access to the assets and you have access to my team to be able to help you get to where you need to be.
And Danielle had a question. Can you share a link to your project? Do you mean the PowerPoint, Danielle, that Bryan was presenting, or my flagship project? I wasn't sure which one you were. Oh, she might have left, maybe too.
I think she meant your flagship project.
Oh, yeah. I'll share that on Circle. If you're on the Circle Devlin Peck group, I'm happy to share it. Yeah, sure. Sure. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'll share that. So super. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming, and thanks for seeing what we've been doing. And Bryan, I'm so thankful for eLearningArt and your time coming to share this with the beautiful world of instructional designers and Devlin's group. So
Thanks. Well, thank you, Allison, for reaching out, and I love chasing down these rabbit holes and working with you to solve problems that other people are having too. It's great, and thank you guys, everyone who's live here. Thank you guys so much for attending live, and to those of you on the replay. Hope you enjoyed it and found this helpful, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.